What is the job of the College Football Playoff Committee? That's the question, right? What's the job of the committee? I got news for you. The job of the committee is to put the 4 best teams in. The whys and the hows of that, I don't really much care. But you can't tell me that we can have a conversation about ratings but look at it's the 4 best teams in college football this year. Right now, their job is the 4 best teams in college football. And I don't see how we have a conversation about who the 4 best teams are, and it doesn't include an SEC team, and it doesn't include Washington or Oregon. Because Oregon's one of the 4 best teams in college football.
Facts.
Now, if you lose to Washington twice, okay, Dan, go back to Autzen and start mowing the grass for next year. Do whatever it is you do. But he's not losing to Washington twice. I am convinced Oregon's going to beat Washington in Las Vegas this Friday night, and I think Oregon's going to the college football playoff. I am convinced that Georgia's going to beat Alabama, and Georgia's going to the college football playoff. But I got news for you. Michigan's that 3rd team. It would not surprise me in the least bit at all if Texas is that 4th team, because Texas is one of the best teams in college football. And Texas, here's where we get into the Florida State argument.
Right.
Texas is a better number than Florida State, in my opinion. More people will watch Texas than they will watch Florida State. And if we're having an argument about the 4 best teams in college football, when Jordan Travis is hurt, they're not one of the best teams in college football. I think I can make the argument they're not one of the 4 best teams in college football. I think I can make the argument the loser of the SEC championship game is better than Florida State.
Facts.
And it doesn't even matter who that is. But the real question here is, what is the job of the College Football Playoff Committee? And I think a guy that is well qualified to answer that question is Kirk Herbstreit, and I think he answered it very succinctly.
So as a guy who calls these games, I don't want to do the right thing. If you talk to Bill Hancock, and we had lots of meetings about this, they're not supposed to do the right thing. Their job is to put the best 4 teams in the playoff. Now, again, it's subjective. Who you think and I think are the best 4 are different, and that's fine. But that's what that group is supposed to do. Not what do we think about ratings? That's bullshit. Put the fucking best 4 teams in the game.
Kirk Herbstreit on the Pardon My Take podcast right there, and I think he's exactly right. Put the 4 best teams in the college football playoff. Period. I don't want to hear about resumes, and don't argue with me that Florida State's better than Texas.
That's bullshit.
There's nothing that says that. There's nothing that says Florida State's better than Texas.
It's true.
Nothing. And we can sit here and argue. Ohio State, the problem for Ohio State is you don't have another game, and you lost to Michigan, and you lost the only game that matters. But are we going to have an argument? Do you really believe Florida State's better than the Ohio State?
Well, they're certainly not better on the TV rating side.
They're not. And I think, unfortunately, to Herbie's point, there's going to be a lot of conversation about, but look at these TV ratings, man. Yeah, look at the TV ratings. When Michigan and Ohio State drew 19 million viewers, dude.
This shit's going good.
Yeah, I would agree. 19 million viewers. Are you kidding me? Look at that number.
That's a flex, dude.
Up there somewhere and stuff.
Got to be America's team.
What? And then Bama and Auburn. Oh, man, that sucks. 9 million viewers for Bama and Auburn.
Good old Iron Bowl got 9 million viewers.
Yeah, nobody watches the Pac-12 at 5.85 million viewers. The Pac-12 outdrew Georgia. Come on, man. And now here's where you get into, Florida State, Florida, 5 million. Iowa, Nebraska, 4 million. Oregon State, Oregon, 4.1 million. Missouri, Arkansas, 4 million, right? Like the games with less consequence have less numbers. But the bottom line is, if you're truly putting the 4 best teams in, I don't think there's any question that it is Georgia, Bama, the winner of that game, in. Michigan, in. I think there is, in my mind, I think Oregon, Washington, in. And then we can all just throw haymakers at each other to decide who the 4th is. But you look at this number, and then you say, well, what were the most watched games of the season? It's awfully difficult to say that Colorado and Oregon wasn't. That's the number 2 game on the year with Oregon. Hey, the Ohio State involved in 2 of the 3 top games on television this year. Oh, I'm sorry. Did I say 2 of the top 3? I meant 3 of the top 4. Ohio State.
I'm for real.
Like, if you look at these numbers, it's awfully difficult to say that, Ohio State has no chance.
So when we talk about what's the committee's job, I agree with Herbie. The committee's job is to put the 4 best teams into the college football playoff, and it has nothing to do with TV ratings. The problem is that everyone's opinion of who the best team is influenced by the ratings and where they live. So when I look at Brett McMurphy's affinity with Florida State, when I look at the defense of Michigan, or the defense of Ohio State, or wherever you're from, really, wherever you sit and watch these games, these folks who sit on this committee are going to defend what they believe to the death.
Yes.
And so that's why I think sometimes we get robbed of the absolute positively best on the field X's and O's matchups, because we should get, and this was the thing that I love so much about what the SEC did with their schedule. Next year, we get all these big games. We get that Texas-Bama matchup early on. We get all these awesome matchups. And that's what I think the committee should be trying to do, because in my opinion, what the TV numbers show us is that when you get a big-time rivalry, cheating scandal aside, in all seriousness, scandal aside, if I just said, hey, Michigan and Ohio State for either the Big Ten championship or who to decide who goes to the Big Ten championship, dude, people are going to watch that game in droves. And so when I look at the playoff, I want big time. I want Oregon. Like, I would love to see Oregon against Georgia, rematch of the curb stomping that was Oregon and Georgia last year. Give them another chance. Let's see what it is.
I can't believe you want to argue Texas, Oregon, Texas, Ohio State, Oregon. Sure, let's go. I'm not willing to fight at all on any way, shape, or form for Florida State at this point. I mean, they're going to win the ACC championship. They're going to be, 13-0? And I don't think they're one of the 4 best teams in the country. I know. You look at the college football playoff rankings last night. I think that's pretty nails. I understand Florida State hasn't lost. How can you bump them out? But how can you put them in? How can you put them in?
The obvious path here, looking at the rankings, Texas is probably the one that should be there. Florida State's not going to be, because you're not going to put 2 Pac-12 teams into the 4. You're not putting Ohio State there because they just lost. Texas should be there. But
I think the top 2 are locked. Michigan's not losing, and I do believe Georgia's going to beat Bama.
And hey, Michigan deserves to be there. You beat Ohio State. The playoffs job, the committee's job is not to consider cheating scandals. It's to consider the best on-field performance, whether you like that or not. So I would agree the top 2 are locked.
Yeah, I think the job of the college football playoff committee is to put the 4 best teams in. Aaron Wilson gifted a membership. Let's go, Aaron. Appreciate you. Oh, yeah, Aaron.
My bad. Dig it up there. My bad.
Let's see.
We've graduated to 20 pages of drops now, so it takes a minute.
You have one job.
I know.
Lonnie Goodman gives us a $2 tip. Appreciate you, Lonnie. Let's see. Expedition Greg, Texas will get drugged by your boy, Coach Mike Gundy, Big 12 Coach of the Year.
We need to talk about this.
So did you guys see this today? And listen, I get it.
I'm a man.
I totally get it. I understand it. We all love it's Gundy.
I think I've hit it every time.
I totally get it. Are you really telling me that Mike Gundy should be the Big 12 Coach of the Year? He was named Big 12 Coach of the Year today. And I understand it. Ollie Oxenfree and stuff. And
this is inaccurate.
Yeah, I totally get it. Right? You're a man. You're 50. I totally understand. Yeah, I know you are, Coach. And I totally get it. But if we're truth tellers on this show, Mike Gundy's not the Coach of the Year. The Coach of the Year should have been between Steve Sarkisian, who should have won it, and Neil Brown at West Virginia.
Hell no.
And Steve Sarkisian should have been the Big 12 Coach of the Year.
But
everybody who votes on this, the coaches in the Big 12, they're a bunch of red asses who are jealous of Texas, So they wanted to hold the door for him and essentially don't let it hit you where the good Lord splits
And
you.
nobody gives a damn about Brent Venables, so don't bring him up either.
And well, Brent Venables lost the only game that mattered in my, but let me get this right. You beat. No, I'm not doing it.
Here's
My point is,
why are we? Can I just ask why?
No,
why
you can't.
are we voting on Coach of the Year when the championship game hasn't been played yet? Can I just ask that question?
I don't care. It's Steve Sarkisian. Texas is back. They're 11-1. They're playing for the conference championship. And hey, you know what? Maybe the mullet pulls the shocking upset and horns down on Saturday. Hey, that could be. Tarrant County has seen stranger things. I'm not buying it. I'm not buying it. And for my money, I am in on. It's
very clear what happened here.
Steve Sarkisian should be the Big 12 Coach of the Year. And it's ridiculous. This is so petty. This isn't, well, look, Monty, you're all cattle and no hat. You're the guy who your boots are full of manure because you hate Gundy. I don't hate Gundy. I hate that Gundy hates Bedlam because he quite literally has bruises on his keister from Bedlam over the last decade. But I don't hate Mike Gundy. I love Mike Gundy. I respect Mike Gundy, Okie State, and Ali Oxenfree. I totally get it. Steve Sarkisian's the Coach of the Year in the Big 12.
Where are we at in society today?
And there's nothing wrong with acknowledging the phenomenal talent that he built, a phenomenal coaching staff, and he went to Bryant-Denny and he won a game that not many teams have been able to win at, in a building not many teams have been able to win at. Big Blue Horses, the college football playoff is a farce. FSU fourth, hell no, get real.
Who'd you have instead?
This week, the thing is, listen, it doesn't matter. You need to be top 6, 7. Top 6, you absolutely have a chance because 2 of those teams are going to lose. They're not one of the 4 best teams in the country, Florida State. At least you lose your best player, you're not the same team.
Right.
And I get it. Everybody's like, wow, Georgia Tech. Okay, great. They struggled against Georgia. Georgia's the best team in the country. Michigan's the second best team in the country. In my opinion, I think Alabama's the 3rd best team, and I think Oregon's the 4th best team. But they got to win their way into the damn thing.
Mm-hmm.
The problem is Ohio State, who's in that conversation, can't win their way into it. And they made their bed, and they got to live with that. Florida State, if they go 13-0, I think it's going to be very difficult to keep them out.
Absolutely.
And it's going to be controversial, which is exactly what the CFP wants.
This is the whole point, though. If the CFP would just put the best teams in there, we'd have plenty of controversy. Because, again, if you look at the rankings, just like you said, like a number 8 Bama right now, I would agree, is a top 4 team. So if the committee in the last week of the rankings, before we get to it, goes ahead and says, hey, yep, Florida State, we'll see you later. It's going to be Georgia, Michigan, Oregon, and Bama. Or Bama, Oregon.
Who's going to argue if it's Georgia, Michigan, Bama, and Oregon?
It's a hell of a playoff.
It's awfully. If Bama beats Georgia, would you really be surprised to see number 1 Michigan, number 2 Oregon, number 3 Bama, number 4 Georgia? Will anybody really be surprised by that?
By the way, just to put this in your brain, you go to next year's format and you look at number 14 Louisville playing FSU. You think that if Louisville found their way to a win in that game, that Florida State wouldn't get bounced potentially from the playoff? Do you understand what's on the line? Like, come on, man.
Yeah, I think that's tough. You look at the AP poll and you compare it, and I think the only team here that would be different in the BCS, I think Washington would have been flipped. One team would have been different in the top 7. So it's not like the CFP's way off. I don't know. I think it's fascinating.
I think it's never a thing where it's like, hey, they've just missed the boat entirely.
Yeah, I don't think so.
I think we always wind up talking about the fact that, it's the Florida State Jordan Travis situation, or it's like these little situations within teams that have to be taken into account. And I do think there is too much emphasis put on being undefeated, because ultimately, before the Ohio State game, Michigan had nothing on their schedule. And now you've beaten Ohio State. And now you can say that. So for Florida State, I say, hey, you really don't have much on your schedule. Like, how? Okay, great. You're undefeated, but
But
hey,
this is why conference championship games matter.
absolutely. And that's why
Unless you're Michigan, who's going to boat race Iowa.
Absolutely. And that's why I
Is
think
there any way Iowa wins that game?
no.
I don't think so either.
You guys can keep praying. It ain't happening.
No, I don't think so either. Is Ohio State there to protect the Big Ten playoff slot if Michigan loses to Iowa?
Yes.
Harry, how are you? Good to see you. How has Jeff Traylor not got the Houston job yet? I don't get it. I know that's interesting. Is Ohio State there to protect the Big Ten? Man, can you imagine if Michigan loses that game?
But also on the other side of the coin, you're not going to, just because Ohio State lost to Michigan at their place, you're not going to bounce them to like 10 or 11 in the ranking. That's not fair. That's too much of a punishment.
If you lose to Iowa, you're not going to the college football playoff.
No. Nope.
I mean, because at that point, I still maintain Louisville's going to beat Florida State. I think Oregon's going to beat Washington. By there, Oregon would be in. And if Michigan were playing the if Michigan game, Michigan would be out. So you would have Georgia 1, Oregon 2. I think
Texas.
I think Ohio State 3 and Texas 4.
But Bama.
But Bama's not beating Georgia. And you were telling Jake was committing felonies, by having certain extremities.
Stay hard.
Inflated over Nick Saban's record at Mercedes-Benz Stadium in the Georgia Dome.
He's 7-0 in the Georgia Dome. He's won, I think it's 14 or 13 SEC championship games in a row when he's played them. He's got all these great numbers, and I don't dispute what you're saying. I mean, I think that
he's not winning.
I think that if Jalen Milroe wants a legitimate opportunity at the Heisman, this is the game you have to win. If you come out and you find your way, now I think he can contend. But until that happens,
he is plus 10,000.
That doesn't matter, dude. It doesn't matter what he is right now.
Bo's Nix is going to win the Heisman.
It's his to lose. But if Jalen Milroe can say, hey, I just beat the number 1 team in the country to punch my team's ticket to the college football playoff, it's awfully hard to overcome that.
If Penix and Washington beat Oregon, I think it's Penix's to lose. But you are certainly not wrong, because I also think you look at this list. I think if Bo Nix loses to Washington twice, he's going to plummet. I think no matter what, Jaden Daniels falls, because you have to think that a cat like Jalen Milroe, I don't know, man. I think Oregon, I feel really good that Oregon's going to win that game. On a neutral site, I would be shocked if Dan Lanning had brain damage 2 games in a row against Washington.
Mm-hmm.
That would be, I don't know what you guys think, but that would be stunning. Hero 75, I'm a Buckeye fan, but unless there is some major chaos like FSU, Alabama, Oregon, Michigan, and Texas all going down, there's no reason why the belongs in the playoffs, and I don't see that happening. I don't see it happening.
Well, I think FSU is the biggest at risk the most with Louisville. I think Louisville's got a legitimate chance in that game.
I would agree. But there's not going to be chaos. Truly, boys, I think Georgia wins, Michigan wins, Oregon wins, and I think Texas wins. And I think it's going to be really tough. Jimmy Otson, a member for 6 months. Let's go, Jimmy. Which teams are winning they're in? Well, I think Georgia, Michigan, Washington, and Florida State, if they win, they're in.
Oregon, certainly.
I think Alabama, certainly. And I think Texas. I think if Texas wins the Big 12 championship over the coach of the year, I think it'll be Georgia, Michigan, Oregon, and I would guess Texas. Those are the 4 that I think would get in.
Mm-hmm.
Because Ohio State's not going to play. So if Texas wins, I think they're in. Because
that's tough for Ohio State.
But has Ohio State I mean, what is your best win? Notre Dame.
Mm-hmm.
Is Notre Dame truly something where you're like, well, holy cow?
No, I just mean that I'm not saying Ohio State should be in. What I'm saying is that it's just your circumstance and the way the Big Ten has worked up until next year, that you work all year to play that game, you lose that game, and now it's all out of your control.
Well, you got to stop. You got to stop scheduling cupcakes. You got to stop doing that. That's just my opinion, but you got to stop doing that. You have to build a schedule that's respectable. Period. Mike Smith, what's up, Mike? Mike says no Notre Dame in the college football playoff unless they join a conference for football. Bam, like it, don't like it. Why would you want to keep Notre Dame out of the college football playoff?
Yeah, I don't understand that at all, dude. What do you mean?
I don't understand that. I mean, you're looking at a team that, and again, Marcus Freeman doesn't win double-digit games. He doesn't. He's an 8-9 win guy. He loses games you would never lose under Brian Kelly. But if you look at the way that this team has operated, they routinely, under Brian Kelly, especially Brian's last 5 years, they won 11 games 3 times, 12-1 and 10-1. Like, that's it. They win games, and they're not playing cupcake schedules. Like, I just don't know why you would want to put them into a corner like that. OG Gary, this brings parity between tier 1 and tier 2. Love this. Yeah, it'll be interesting, certainly. The portal. Let's see where everybody ends up. Jim Choi says the mullet is the man. Yeah, but he's not coach of the year in the Big 12. I'm happy to sit here and play it out. You don't lose. First of all, Steve Sarkisian has the best team in the Big 12.
No doubt.
He'll be able to reinforce my beliefs in the Big 12 championship game. But if you're Oklahoma State, you don't lose to directional Alabama and the State School of Iowa and then tell yourself, well, but, at least we went to the central part of Florida and, oh, no, we didn't. We lost.
With all due respect.
Well, I mean, we're 9-3. That's coach of the year stuff. Not when Steve Sarkisian's 11-1 and he won at Alabama.
Which he would never do.
He beat a ranked Kansas team. His loss is in a rivalry game to Oklahoma, who was 12th in the country at the time. Stop. Like, this isn't even 11 o'clock, Tarrant County, Saturday on ABC. We'll figure it out.
Mm.
I mean, in my opinion, it's ridiculous that Mike Gundy's the Big 12 coach of the year. And it's not personal. A lot of people are like, you just hate Gundy. I don't hate Gundy. I don't hate Okie State.
I hate that they gift wrapped it to him because they're pissed that Texas and Oklahoma left for the SEC.
They gift wrapped it as an FU to Oklahoma and Texas.
Yes.
That's what they did.
Yes.
Neil Brown is more deserving than Mike Gundy.
Fuck you. How's that?
What Neil Brown did, and I know wants to fire Neil Brown guy.
Neil Brown needs fired.
Right? Like, I get it. Neil Brown did a hell of a job at West Virginia this year. Like it or not. Alexander Smitley, red asses, sure. Jealous of Texas? Okay. Tell me you're not. This has been the issue way back when everybody laughed at me in 2014 when I said, hey, BYU, including Texas, USC, they're looking to form a different conference because they all went out of their current situations. And now look, what do you know? They're all out of their current situations. I think there is an enormous amount of, and jealousy may be strong. You want what Texas has. You want to be who Texas is.
Mm-hmm.
You want to be the behemoth. You want to be the traditional powerhouse. You want to be where Arch Manning, no doubt about it, is going to play football. You want to be Texas.
Venom and vitriol.
And I'm not saying the burnt orange and horns up, bro. Like, I'm not saying that. But you want what they have. And there's a lot of schools in this conference who will never have that,
including Oak State.
You'll never have what Oklahoma has. You just won't. You just won't. And it's a harsh reality that I think a lot of universities deal with. And I know that probably pisses people off, but hey, it is what it is.
And if Texas, or in my opinion, when Texas goes out and wins the Big 12 this weekend, I'd absolutely stick it to the Big 12. Stick it to Oklahoma State. Tell them how it is. Talk that junk. You can't tell me Sark is unaware of what's going on here. You can't tell me that Sark isn't sitting here telling his boys, hey, it's our last game in the Big 12. Let's finish this thing off. Let's finish what we set out to do at the beginning of the year. You guys know what it is. And to me, I'm going full, flag on the star, the whole deal. I'm rolling that out if I'm Texas when I win this game. Send a message.
Yeah. I think it is going to be very interesting to see how all of this works out. And I think it's going to be very interesting to see exactly what this looks like. So we'll figure it out. And I think Saturday afternoon around 3:00, it'll be very interesting to see how all of this plays out. But again, no, I'm not going to do it. Cougar Tracks, a member of the show for 8 months. Is Mike Gundy COLY if they beat Texas coach of the year? No, he's not. Steve Sarkisian is.
This is why I maintain you shouldn't be voting on coach of the year till after you know who's the champion.
The portal is more important than recruiting now. Oh, it is. I don't think there's any doubt about that.
They're one and the same, though. They're one and the same because, again, and I understand what you mean there. Hey, traditional recruiting is less important than the portal, but the fact is that all of your major gains in recruiting are going to happen through the transfer portal. Notre Dame, didn't go out and say, yeah, hey, high school quarterback Riley Leonard, come to Notre Dame. They didn't do that. Duke did. And now they're making gains by getting them through the portal.
Okay. Hey, Jake, Boss Frog's here.
So, dude.
Monty, check your text toy. Don't ever threaten me with a good time. Booze, food, caddy are comped. You know where to find me.
Okay. Let's go, baby. Do we have intel? Is it in fact true what he's saying?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
It is in fact true what
I'm for real.
What he is saying.
Wait a minute. Real.
Mo, what are you doing? There you go. I like it.
So it's done.
It is done.
Wow.
Yes, it is.
Holy cow.
Yes, it is.
Damn.
It is done. Let's go, Mo. So yeah, we'll talk about it. We'll get into it.
Yeah.
That's great. I like it.
Anyway.
I'm golf obsessed. It just is what it is. It is what it is. All right. Let's get some of your other comments in here after we look. It's 48 minutes into the show. Time just flying by.
Mike Gundy's coach of the year. My ass.
Time just flying by. Talking about Sark, the Big 12 screwed out coach of the year guy. I don't need buckshot to be passionate about that. I love it. I hit it every single day at this time. Well, usually 20 minutes ago. It's 200 milligrams of naturally sourced caffeine and a bunch of brain food, you guys. It is fantastic. I love every ounce of it. And the thing that I respect so much about BuckedUp is that BuckedUp uses elite ingredients to make elite products that do exactly what they say they're going to do. That's the bottom line at BuckedUp. You read the label. You should read the label on anything you're going to put in your face. Absolutely, you should. But understand, all of the ingredients, they're good ingredients, whether it's their pre-workouts, which are world-renowned and award-winning, their energy drinks. They make high stimulant with a lot of caffeine, low stimulant with a little bit of caffeine, or whether it is the best energy shot in the business. Cheers to you, my friends. Good times had by all with the buckshot. Right here on the Monty Show. Hook it up. Get 6 free buckshots. If you haven't tried it, get in the description below. There's a link that's going to get you 6 free buckshots sent right to your front door, no strings attached. Go get it. Go hook it up. Go get your free buckshots right now. BuckedUp.com. Use the promo code Monty for 20% off at checkout. And then I'm telling you to go click the free link. We never want you to spend money unless you have the opportunity to try it first. We try to comp you guys and hook you up all the time. Hook it up right here, my friends. Buckshot from Bucked Up. Bucked Up Energy, the official energy provider of the Monty Show. Conundrum. Sark got punished for the Texas OK leaving the conference.
Yes.
Absolutely he did.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Expedition Greg, Monty, have you heard anything about the latest in Michigan's investigation? I don't think we hear anything else until the season's over. Everybody was like, they're going to suspend Jim Harbaugh. They're not. He is going to go to the Big Ten championship game. He is going to coach in the college football playoff should they make it. It is what it is. And then I think he leaves for the NFL. Just my opinion. Eddie Phillips for $20. Thank you, Eddie. Triskaidekaphobia becomes real for the college football playoff hopefuls next year.
Oh, what are you talking about, man?
I cannot wait for the chaos that we're going to have a year from now.
It will be amazing.
It will. Brandon Butler, how do you even pick? If you look at this grid.
And I love this conversation this year when you're looking at this.
Are all the 12 just in, right? I
No.
think your 4 conference champions, your highest ranked G5 league champion.
Because remember, next year it's 5 and 7. So we got in next year's model, this graph is going to say Oregon would also be a horizontal bar there if we're using these teams.
I think you're looking at not much change in this ranking.
But look at the chaos around the 10th, 11th, and 12th position and the teams that are 13th, 14th, and 15th. Dude, Arizona and the Fighting Fafitas, I'm telling you right now, if they had a chance this year to get into the college football playoff, they would be right there. They are playing good football.
Like you look at Missouri, who's had a great season. You look at Penn State, Iowa, the Fighting Gundies. You look at Notre Dame.
Yeah, I think they have anything on the line, the Big 12 championship game?
They would. Certainly they would. Brandon Butler, if you can't see the field, you can't get drafted. I am all for kids transferring to get on the field. It's why Utah did not get a QB last year.
And lost one this year, Nate Johnson.
I think you're exactly right. I don't hate the idea that kids can transfer, but we need to understand college football and college sports are not what we grew up watching. Any of us, and I don't care how old you are.
There's too much money in it now.
And the death of the Blue Bloods in college basketball was a real test for the intestinal fortitude of what we have in college football right now.
Just the stalwartness.
Because I think there's going to be a lot of Blue Bloods that are going to have your former quarterback, and it's going to piss people off. And whether it's Coastal or Duke, Oregon State right now, Washington State right now, like you look at these guys that are in compromised situations, you look at the Fighting Fafitas. Noah Fafita is I think we're all waiting for Noah Fafita to hop in the portal. You think he looks at what Riley Leonard did today? By the way, Duke quarterback Riley Leonard going to Notre Dame now. You think Noah Fafita would like to be the starting quarterback at Notre Dame? Cam Ward would like to be the starting quarterback at the Ohio State? I think he might.
Man, I would love to see that.
What about Will Howard?
He is an interesting case because of his ability. I mean, he's not as good as Herbert at Oregon was, but he reminds me when I watch Will Howard, there are a lot of times where I'm like, man, that throw was gas. That was very Herbert at Oregon-esque. And I think that he needs to get to a proper situation.
He does.
And that's not the biggest program that's running triple option. I can tell you that. You need to get somewhere that's a spread offense, throwing it down the field, showing what you can do.
Yep, I agree. TJ back for $5. Which leprechaun wins a fight, Celtics or Notre Dame? Please. Please.
Don't even get me started on the NBA last night, dude.
I would like to thank
What a joke.
Jaylen Brown for going off and get me a win in Prize Picks last night.
The shit's going good.
We'll talk about Prize Picks coming up. I had a good night on Prize Picks, even though Jaylen Brown was a 0 for me. Scott of Greywater Watch. KJ Jefferson reminds me of Josh Allen.
That's a big boy, dude. That's a big boy.
Yeah, in the portal now. Another shocker.
What do you bet?
Phenomenal Hebrew. I would really be pissed if Tulane's Michael Pratt was to leave. Tulane's on a run, dude.
But like, that's a perfect example of a program that's never going to win a national championship, but in a 12-team playoff could have some opportunity. You know, you could have some opportunity to get in every once in a while. And I think that's the greatness of the expanded college football playoff, is that, you know, your Tulanes of the world have, you know, a chance now. At least now you can say, hey, we got to be the highest ranked G5. And if we do that, we're in. Like,
they have a chance to be that team.
Certainly.
You know, and you look at Michael Pratt, Mekhi Hughes, who is the rookie of the year in the AAC. Willie Fritz is the coach of the year in the AAC. Michael Pratt's the offensive player of the year in the AAC. Yeah, and I look at these situations and I say to myself, Tulane's a great story, but is Michael Pratt the same quarterback at Tulane that he would be at Oregon State, that he would be at Washington or Oregon or anybody else who's in the? Is Michael Pratt a candidate at Clemson? I don't know. But I can only say it again. If you're a coach and you get a job opportunity, come on now.
We built this program on NIL.
I am telling you, that is something that I would be absolutely after. You have to go when you have jobs like Houston, Cliff Kingsbury. Why is Houston talking to Cliff Kingsbury?
Why not?
Well,
why not?
Because I think when you look at Houston and you look at the job that Traylor's done at UTSA, how do you say no to that? Jeff Traylor is the guy for Houston.
I mean, that might be the case, but I definitely would talk to Cliffy.
Come on. He was Cliffy a success at Tech?
Certainly wasn't a failure. I mean, he didn't do the best he probably could have done.
He was actually very good, in my opinion. He was good, not very good at Arizona. But you're never going to win there.
No.
But Jeff Traylor's the guy. You're talking, do you understand just how fertile Myrtle, the recruiting ground in Texas, is? I need a guy that's on the ground. I need a guy who can ring the phone of any coach in that state and say, hey, it's trailer trash, man. I want your quarterback to come visit. Cliff Kingsbury's not that guy. I don't know. I think Houston's a big job. I think it's a great job. I think Jeff Traylor's the perfect in San Antonio. Everybody at UTSA, it sucks. But this is the essence of the conversation. Listen,
Houston's a program that needs to run a high-flying offense. They need to be a program that pushes the ball down the field and comes after you on offense. Defense, hey, it is what it is. Let's put our best product out there. Is what it is. Lincoln Riley philosophy, right? We want to score as many points as we can and deal with it on defense. And when Houston was like that 5 years ago, they were a tough team to go and beat. You know, they always challenged you.
And who else is interviewing for that Houston job? Allegedly, Barry Odom at UNLV. How long's Barry Odom been at UNLV? 7 years. Oh, that's right. This was his first year there, and he is the Mountain West Coach of the Year. And he's probably going to get a big job after 1 year. But why is Barry Odom so successful? Because he's not some rookie off the street. Look at how much the guy worked and and again, I said this about Joey McGuire. I've said it about Jeff Traylor. I'll say it about Odom. These cats that start in high school, those are the coaches you want.
I want the best people.
And this is just my opinion. I don't know what you guys think. I don't want the guy who's like, oh yeah, it's big time quarterback. Hire me to be the offensive coordinator. Because those guys don't win as head coaches. I want the guy who won at high school, got a college job, and is now ready for a bigger college job.
It's a defense.
Whether it's Odom, Traylor, McGuire, those are the guys that win.
Mhm.
Those are the guys that win, in my opinion. Expedition Greg, overall college football has changed in the last few decades, some for the better and some not for the better. Absolutely right. You know what, Greg? I think we all of us who I'm 50 years old. I'm a child of the 80s. Look how much the game has changed since Barry was in Norman. Look how much the game has changed since Bob Stoops was in Norman. Look how much the game has changed since Mac Brown was the head coach at Texas, since Taysom was jumping over linebackers at DKR. Look how much the game has changed. And it's going to change even more. Like college football is very different than any of us have ever known it to be. It truly is. And I being based in Utah, I have the great pleasure of guys like Kyle Whittingham, who I think is one of the top 5 coaches in the country. And just the solid job that he has done. But is he cutting edge? No, he's not. And Nate Johnson leaving, and you might not like it, is probably better for the program. Because is Nate Johnson a quarterback that's good enough to win a Big 12 championship?
Hell no.
Absolutely not. But can you count on Cam Rising? Absolutely not. You got to get in the portal and get yourself a guy to push. Would I rather have Will Howard than Cam Rising? I actually would. Because Cam's best availability or best ability is his availability. He hasn't been available lately. I need a number 1 to push him. Right? So we can look at these situations where we've had rock solid consistency. That doesn't always equate to winning in the long term. I look at Dabo. But I think Quinn's a very interesting case. You're 3-4 quarterbacks deep. Again, I know he's not the coach of the year because Mike Gundy's mullet is amazing. But Steve Sarkisian built a staff that knows how to recruit and knows how to develop. And now he's got 3 and arguably 4 starting quarterbacks in almost any program in the country. Arch Manning can walk into pretty much any quarterback room and be the best guy right now.
Facts.
Right? And Malik Murphy, I don't dislike what we saw out of Malik at Texas.
Yeah, he's a guy that I think is, like, it's kind of incredible. You look at Quinn Ewers, obviously he's the guy for Texas. You look at Arch Manning's got a name behind him, bunch of hype, bunch of talent. We know what he should be. And so because of that, just like you said, right, he can walk in any room and be the guy. Malik Murphy is someone who's in the middle. You didn't know who Malik Murphy was. Who's Malik Murphy? You had no idea who he was.
No idea.
And yet this is a guy who comes out, bridges the gap for Texas, and now absolutely should go out and find a starting job for himself. Ride the wave. And this is my biggest thing with Arch Manning in the portal. Dude, you have a name behind you. You have something to live up to. Go get a starting job. Stop sitting here because you want to be, a Longhorn and play at DKR constantly. You got to get over that. This is a system of go out and play. If you don't play, you're not going to the league. And Arch Manning is a guy who had a yellow brick road laid out for him before he even popped out into the world. And yet here we are wasting your time on the bench. At some point, we need to move along. And that's just the reality of it.
And again, I go to Barry Odom. This is an experienced cat who's worked his way up. And I mean, without question, it wasn't a great run at Missouri. But you look at what he learned through that, and look what he's done at freaking UNLV, where they haven't been able to win a football game for how long? Right? But he's got a lot of experience. He's got a lot of friends. He's got a big network. I think those are the guys you want. That's why I had such high hopes for Tech this year. Such high hopes. And the frustrating part, one thing I don't want to get too far away from, speaking of Sark, it really pisses me off we're not going to get Texas and Texas Tech. And I know I've railed about rivalries in college football, and I don't mean to belabor the point. It is so disappointing to me. I would guess it's going to be a decade before we see Texas Tech again.
Have to be in the playoff.
That's a game that I think is very sad. That's a rivalry that we should have. And we're losing, and thankfully we're getting BYU and Utah back, and we're losing Bedlam. We're losing Tech in Texas. Like
We lost Pitt, West Virginia.
We're losing these big games. And it's really disappointing. It is really disappointing to me. So the eye patch, go UNLV, beat Potato State. You fired your coach and you're going to the conference championship game. Is Boise State, is the Smurf turf still a good job? I think it is.
It's a good job for the right candidate. You need someone who has vision and understands where the program should be.
Bronco Mendenhall.
Exactly.
Bronco, that job should be yours.
Precisely.
That job. And listen, I don't think that Bronco's desperate if he needed money, he'd go to tridaytrading.com/Monty because he knows that tonight, right around 7:30, I'll be trading in the Australian market because Mrs. Monty's in the Tri-Day trading program. We are learning. We are growing. We are developing. We are making money at tridaytrading.com/Monty. You guys, it's basically free. It's a $10 charitable donation at tridaytrading.com. You make a $10 donation. They give it to charity. You get their whole program for 30 days for free. That simple. High-level coaching, proprietary software, processes, indicators, and you're trading right now. And it's an adrenaline rush. It is, if you're a gamer, it is not unlike gaming. If you're a golfer, it's not unlike watching that golf ball fly through the air. It is the rush that you get when you are trading the Australian dollar versus the Japanese yen. It is a rush. And when you see those indicators all pointing up, or hey, the big guys, because one of the indicators that they teach you is, hey, you want to see where are the heavy dollar traders versus the small guy. The big guys versus the small guys. When there's a big gap between what the big boys and the little boys are doing, you can almost always bank. Well, if the big boys are way up and they're buying and the little guys are way down and they're not, you should buy because those little guys are going to come up. They're going to, the big guys are down and the little guys are up. You should sell because there are all kinds of games that you can play to make yourself money. Full-time traders who have graduated the Tri-Day trading program are making up to $1,000 a day. And if you want to do it as a side hustle, maybe you just want to pay your cars off. Maybe you want to go play Wolf Creek down in Mesquite. And you want to play the best golf courses in the country every year. TriDayTrading.com is making your greens fees for you, right? $300 to $500 a day when you're doing it part-time. It's a living, and it's a really good one. Live the life you've always wanted to live. TriDayTrading.com. And please, somebody on DM last night, my guy Ricky, DMing me, I'm going to do it as my New Year's resolution. To hell with that. I was at the gym this morning, and we're going to talk about this in the non-sports stories of the day. I was at the gym this morning, and this guy came up to me and was in my ass about how many weights I was using.
What the fuck are you, Ranger Rick?
Right? And what are you, the gym police? And the thing that I always say is, if you're the guy that says, I'm going to wait till January 2nd to go to the gym, well, you're going to be fat the rest of your life. If you're the guy who's like, well, I'm going to make more money this year, but I'm going to start that in January, you're going to be broke the rest of your life. Stop making excuses. Start living your life. Change your stupid habits now. And I put a saying on my Instagram yesterday. The magic that you are dreaming of is hiding in the work that you refuse to do. There you go. There endeth the lesson. TriDayTrading.com/Monty. Get your $10 30-day trial membership right now. Whew, there you go. I feel better. Who's all in the house today? Let's run through some of your comments. Bob Holsey, I have a yen for Aussie women. I've heard that. What's a New Year's resolution? Exactly. Starting in January, I'm putting this, see all these donuts and cookies? I'm putting them down in January. Until then, I'm going to be a fat mother.
Excellent strategy, sir.
No, don't be a resolutioner. Please don't. Johnny Gonzalez, speaking of full-time traders, Arkansas, welcome back a former head coach, rival OC, Bobby Petrino. Official.
Johnny, bro, where were you yesterday, dude? Had a whole bit on it.
Yeah, and KJ Jefferson immediately hopped in the portal.
We'll see you later.
1939 national champions. How are you? Arch will probably start over yours next year. That's not how Sark rolls. If Quinn Ewers is back, it's Quinn Ewers' job.
Quinn Ewers is a stud. He's a veteran. He can lead your football program. That's not Arch Manning yet.
Jim Choi, I got LA Fitness lifetime membership at $50 a year. Best deal I ever made. That's phenomenal, dude. Way to go. Mike Smith, Wilson Pang is the way. Wilson Pang. I don't know what I missed there.
Yeah, what do we?
You know, Stallions gave Giddy the wrong signs. Okay.
Yeah.
And I love the avatar. Monty is the way. W-H-E-Y.
That's right.
Appreciate you. Boyd Lake, wow, nice quote. You're welcome. It's true. It's true. All the magic that you're looking for. When I was sales training people and I was helping people sell, I used to tell people that all the time. Everything you want is hiding behind all that hard shit you're scared of. So just do the work.
Y'all feel me?
Right? All the money you want to make, all the dreams, the rounds of golf, all that stuff there, it's behind the hard stuff. You have to go do the hard stuff and the good stuff will get there. Mike Smith, I got LA Fitness membership years ago, never panned out since I was living in West Virginia. Mountain Mama doesn't have LA Fitness. I would agree. I'm going to steal that quote, Boyd Lake says. You should. You absolutely should. OG Gary, with Utah being the new team to beat and probably the statistical best chance to make the college football playoff.
That's bullshit.
I think such a good quote. That's Kirk Herbstreit. I'll play it again in a minute.